Good evening to you. Just about 10 minutes ago, a large press conference here just wrapped up at LAPD headquarters, and it was quite a show of force. We had LAPD Chief Michael Moore, LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva, a representative from the FBI, and then numerous community leaders, black groups, Hispanic groups, Jewish groups, everybody here kind of just making a stand. They hear what's going on in Minnesota. They're seeing the news. They saw the Daunte Wright shooting. They know the Derek Chauvin trial is ongoing. There's a lot of tension building up, and they feel it's starting to feel like what we saw last summer with the George Floyd protests. So they all wanted to come together tonight to urge everybody in Los Angeles, protest peacefully. If you are going to protest, they say they will absolutely respect your right to do so. However, for any anarchists out there, any agitators, they have a crystal clear message that any violence, any looting is not going to be tolerated. And that's not just coming from law enforcement, that's coming from the community leaders. They were saying, some folks out there say, well, a building is just a building. These community leaders say, no, that's not true. Those buildings are people's livelihoods that they work for their entire lives, businesses, and they do not want to see a repeat of what we saw last summer. So take a listen to what a couple of the things Chief Moore and Sheriff Villanueva had to say earlier.
To those in our community who have experienced police abuse, whether recently or over the decades of our city's past, George Floyd's death and the televised trial of Derek Chauvin has undoubtedly caused further trauma, causing harm to your sense of safety and justice that frays the level of trust between those of us in law enforcement and the communities we're sworn to protect and serve. It is critical that we not only acknowledge the pain within our community stemming from these events, but also to acknowledge the feelings of anger, frustration, and the legitimate need to express those emotions.
But it's important to recognize, in spite of what people may say, what happened with George Floyd is not reflective of the entire profession of law enforcement in the nation. There are people trying to sell that false image, that false narrative, and it is not true. We have to reject that. We have to respect the rule of law. We have to reject violence. We have to convince our kids to keep those guns at home.
And I asked both the sheriff and the police chief, what do they say to folks out there, any agitators out there who either didn't see this press conference or don't care about it? And the sheriff had a very frank message. He says, any agitators out there, we're coming for you. We're not going to tolerate it. We've learned from our mistakes last year. We've learned from what happened last year, and they are not going to allow a repetition of what happened last year. So, guys, a big show of force out here from the community, from our law enforcement leaders. The question is going to be, is it going to be effective? Because there's a lot of tension out there, and you know what happens as the sun goes down in the east and as we head into the night here throughout this week here in LA, it remains to be seen. We'll send it back to you.